Hello, this is Christina. Today I'm going to be talking about abortion and how Jesus showed me from uh, his view of what he sees and witnesses during the abortion. And this was part of when I first visited him. I asked him about a bunch of things that were going on, and abortion was a big thing and still is. And so I asked him about that, and this is what he showed me um, at that time. So in this, we're little. We're all of a sudden we're actually in somebody with the baby, and Jesus is as little as the baby is. However big the baby is how he is, and he's there with the baby, loving and comforting on it, and as much as he can, because the baby's anxious and sad and hurt and in pain, as he's going through this abortion, and he's being ripped apart and he doesn't know why. He just is screaming in terror and such pain that you can't even believe. Just imagine having your arm ripped off, your leg ripped off, your other arm ripped off, your other leg ripped off, your head being crushed, so that the brains can flow out and they can pick the pieces of the bones out, or the light skull bones, and the rest of the body kind of break them up so they can get it out of the uterus. So a lot of people say that, oh, it's just it's not a baby, it's not real, it can't scream. It's like, what, your soul can scream. you know um, you don't have to have your mouth to scream. You can be screaming in your soul. And so anyway, so he goes through that with every abortion. He's there as a witness and as a love and comfort as much as he can for these babies. And these babies, these little souls that haven't even had a chance to take a breath, are being murdered before they're even born. And so, like I said before, I was pro-abortion, and I'd be like, it's the woman's body. Who am I to tell her? I wouldn't have one myself, but her body, her choice. I didn't really think about it any other way. And then once I was showed this, I was changed like that. I'm like, oh my gosh, I didn't even think of it from the baby's point of view, of what the baby is actually going through. Because you hear, he's like, oh, the baby died. You think of it as a simple thing, but it's not. It's a horrendous death, and that the baby goes through in some of these instances. And like I said, in this one, he was showing me one of them that was being pulled to pieces out of the body. And let's see, sorry, I'm looking at my notes here. I'm trying to make sure I get everything in there. There's so much more. I could just talk forever for this. And as he was going through this, Jesus allowed me a moment, because I was just kind of, at first I was out just looking, like wasn't feeling what the baby, I was seeing, but I wasn't really feeling what the baby was. And he allowed me a moment, just like a quick little flash of a moment of what the baby was feeling. And you can't imagine. It's hard to imagine what the baby, the emotional and physical pain that it's going through. But for that one moment I did, and it was not something I would wish on my worst enemy. And so, and after this happened, Jesus is holding, actually in his right hand, he's holding the baby, and he's holding the pieces of the baby in his hand. And he goes, why is this okay, to take this soul that I have blessed you with and tear it apart as if it's nothing? And that's what people think when they have, as they murder this baby as if it's nothing. They take the soul and kill it. And to them, they're like, it's nothing. It's not a baby. It's not a baby. That's how some of them justify it. It's not a baby. It's just clumps of whatever. And, but it's not. It's a soul. It's a life. So it is a life. And it's wrong. Abortion is killing. It's murder. And it's that simple. After this, when he's holding the baby in his right hand and he's showing me the pieces, and he asked me that question, then he showed me Isis, a person dressed all in black with his face covered, and at his feet was a person that they had killed. They had chopped the head off. And so there's the body at the feet. And so Jesus is then holding the person that was beheaded in his arm, in his left arm, and then the baby, pieces of the baby in his right hand. And he goes, what's the difference between that? They're both in pieces. These are my children. Why do you choose to cry and protest against one, but then try to protect the other? They're both the same. They're both the same. The ISIS and the doctor and the mother on the one side and the ISIS on the other, they're the same. They're both murdering, tearing these souls to pieces. So I was like, that's true. Why do we do that? Why do we allow that as humans? How can people not see how wrong abortion is? So anyway, as when I first had this dream, when I first had this visit with him and was shown what the abortion actually is, and then he told me this, when I first went through this, all I saw was, like, of course, Jesus, but the baby ripped to pieces. And that's all I could really concentrate on. I saw the adult with it beheaded, but I was like, in my head, I was like, well, at least the adult got to grow up, be born and grow up. And innocent or not, I don't know that person, but that's wrong. But this baby is just so innocent and so little, wasn't even born yet, and it's ripped apart. So all I can concentrate on when I first got this was like, oh, how can people not see this, and not, remember right before this, I was like, pro-abortion, do what you want with your body. But when I saw this, I was like, it's not okay. It's not okay to abort. And so, I was like angry and upset at the doctor and the mother, and then on this side, with ISIS, and it had been going on a while, with ISIS, how it's been. It's just like, you're like, oh, we need to, kill them all, just wipe them out, and be done with them. They need to not live anymore. And so and that's when I first got that. That's all I could see of what he showed me, but there was a bigger picture. And it's just been recently that, you know, that I was able to step back a little bit. And when I started this process of, you know, getting to know Jesus more, and the more visits I've had with him, or dreams that he's given me, or visions that he's giving me, more understanding I'm getting, and about forgiveness, and praying for people, and trying to bring people to him. And so I was able to step back a little bit more from what just concentrating on the baby and the person that had its head chopped off, and, you know, of course, seeing the ISIS and the doctor and you're thinking with them. And so when I stepped back a little bit, Jesus was also saying, these are my children. So it wasn't just the baby and the person that was decapitated. It was also the ISIS person and the doctor and the mother. These are my children. And he loves them all equally. Even though they may not be doing right, he still loves them as he loves us. And so I was like, oh, okay, so I need to be praying for them. Pray for them that they have a change of heart, that their hearts are softened and open toward God's guidance and love, and so they can choose the right path. And then, like recently, like just very recently, I'm talking like maybe this last week or two, I was even able to take a further step back and see what he showed me. Again, he was still standing there with the baby in his right palm and right hand, and then the ISIS member in his left arm. And when I stepped back again, like I said, I was able to focus less on just because the death of the baby was just like the most traumatic thing you can think of. And so you just concentrate on that. And then so again, stepping back and then stepping back again, I actually see now, there's an angel standing in front of how the baby's, Jesus still has the pieces of the baby's body in his hand, and the ISIS member, the other person that was killed, the adult, in his left arm. But standing in front of him, facing the doctor and the mother, is an angel holding a little baby, and the baby is reaching toward the mother and the doctor like it wants to be picked up, with its arms out, both its arms just held out. You know how babies are when they want to be picked up, they're kind of reaching up. And so there's the baby reaching toward them. And I'm like, oh my goodness. And then on the other side is the person that was beheaded. And he's standing there and he's reaching toward the ISIS person. Like if he wants to touch him on the shoulder, he's reaching toward him. And it's all forgiven. They've already forgiven him. They've forgiven the ISIS member for beheading him, and the baby is forgiven its mother and the doctor for doing what they did. It's already forgiven. And it's true, because when I first went into Jesus' presence, you have pain in life, things that happen, that unforgivable things. Sometimes you think you can never forgive people for the pain and the hurt that you go through. You always remember it, no matter how much you tried to forget or forgive. And forgiving was never really a thing. It was just, let me just forget it, forget about forgiveness. I didn't think I would ever be able to do that. But as soon as you're in his presence, you're like, oh, that is gone. The pain of every single thing that you've gone through that has hurt you physically or emotionally is gone. It's forgiven. It's like, oh, okay. So, you don't feel it anymore, and you feel very light. And so I know the instant forgiveness that they felt as soon as they passed and were in Jesus' presence. They were forgiven, because he just wipes it out. And then all you want to do now is you want to pray for the person or persons that hurt you, and you want them to change. You want their heart to soften to God's guidance and love, so that he can treat them, he can change them and turn them onto the right path that they need to be on, and hopefully change their ways and not hurt anybody anymore. So I know that's in my experience, happened. So I believe that's the way every person is. As soon as you're there, right now on earth, you think you can never forgive the person for hurting you. But as soon as you're in his presence, it's gone. Jesus has got you, and everything else is not to worry. You don't even worry about it, because you're like, wow, Jesus has got this. He is in control. And, he just wipes out your pain. Your forgiveness, you're forgiven, as soon as you feel it in your heart, and you just, I'm so sorry. And it's forgiven, and any pain you've caused or any pain you've gotten, received, it's forgiven. Now I need to pray for that person or those persons. So anyway, that was, as I stepped back, that was, again, as I've grown in learning and getting to know Jesus more, spending time with him and his word, and again, with these visits and these dreams and these visions that I get, I learn more each time. So forgiveness is there already for them. They just need to change their heart, soften their heart, and to accept Jesus as their Lord and Savior and follow his ways. And Jesus loves you no matter what you've done, no matter what anyone's done. He loves us. So I hope this video touches somebody. Share if you like, leave comments if you like. Have a blessed day. Jesus